social media censorship strikes again. You know, when it happens to big name right wing celebrities, that's one thing. But when it happens to a friend, that's just getting really creepy. All right, welcome back to the Colorblind Architect Podcast. I'm your host, David, and we are going to be talking about social media censorship. And yes, my phone mount does not stay steady when I'm driving, which should make this a really enjoyable video to watch if you're watching this on video. Yesterday, I saw one of my friends post on Facebook that they just got back from a 1-month suspension from Facebook, and I asked the question, well, okay, so did they even give you a reason for why you were suspended? And what she said really shocked me. She said she was suspended for a month because she had too many fact checks on her posts and she was sending too many messages. And here I am thinking, wait, what does it matter how many messages you send? I mean, like the Facebook Messenger, that's supposed to be private, right? Well, of course, we all know that's a joke. We all know that there's no privacy whatsoever. Facebook's spying on everything that we do on Facebook Messenger, everything that we do on WhatsApp, everything that we do on Facebook, everything that we do on Instagram. The big F in the room is a giant censorship. Yes, Facebook is absolutely spying on us, and they're treating us like we're not even allowed to, have our own opinions, Now, I can understand a lot of people's opinion on Facebook. A lot of people don't want to have a bunch of political posts on Facebook. And I understand this because when I first signed up for a Facebook account, I didn't really want to. The only reason why I did was because this was back in the late 2000s, and I remember the reasoning to get it was because all my family, they were no longer posting on their blogs, because what we used to do as a family, we would all have our own blogs. And we would post family pictures there and, talk about things that were happening. And, it was a kind of nice way to keep up with family who were far away. Our family happens to be spread across the planet. So, it's kind of nice to be able to catch up with people and, follow their adventures. So Facebook comes along, and all of a sudden it was a lot easier to keep tabs on what our family was doing because they would post it and you would have it all in one website. You wouldn't have to go to multiple blogs to see the stuff. Well, slowly over time, enter the 2016 election. By that point, Facebook had become very politicized. There were a lot of political posts, and I think there are a lot of people who use Facebook who they don't want the political stuff. They just want that friendly, hey, let's share stuff with friends and family. I actually have family members who that's all they use it for. Especially some members of my family who are extremely careful at what they post, not because they're scared personally of speaking out, but because the position that they hold is something where they have to maintain a public image of neutrality because they are in a somewhat politicized position. Not that, it's a non-political bureaucratic position, And so they have to maintain this image of neutrality, even though I'm pretty sure I know which way they lean. But, that it doesn't matter. Your political beliefs, so long as you believe in the Constitution of the United States, your political beliefs should not affect your standing in society. Now, so let's get back to the social media censorship. I can kind of understand why Facebook is trying to pull the reins back, and from a simple standpoint of trying to keep it more of a friendly place, I can totally understand that. Twitter, on the other hand, that's always been politicized. That's always been a dumpster fire, and I haven't been on Twitter in years, largely because I found it so vile. It was so disgusting. I couldn't be on there. So, yeah, Twitter's horrible. But so, where do you go if you want to have these discussions, these intellectual discussions? So, for me, a lot of my discussions ended up on Facebook, because I do have a lot of friends on Facebook that do want to discuss ideas and politics and the issues of the day. And because we're already friends on Facebook, it's just a convenient place to do it. And so, and again, this phone mount really sucks at holding position. So I apologize for the horrible videography on this video. But honestly, this is more to share my thoughts on this subject, not as much to see my lovely face while I'm driving. So here's the interesting thing. So I've started using a social media service lately, after Tim Pool talked about it on his show, and it's one that's called Pocketnet App. Now, the thing that's fascinating about Pocketnet App is it purports to be a blockchain-based distributed social media network. Now, what that essentially means is that you have different nodes, different servers, or basically computers connected to the internet with the node app running as a service in the background, always connected to the internet. Well, the reason for this is that way there's no single server. There's no centralized place. So one of the problems with Parlor was in order to keep up with the demand for the service, they were using Amazon Web Services, or AWS. In order to use that service, though, you are kind of at the mercy of Amazon. And as we saw, Amazon and Google and Apple essentially colluded to shut down and destroy Parlor. Now, I was on Parlor, not because I'm some kind of radical person. It's just I love free speech, and I wanted to support the idea of free speech. And I will admit, it was all right-wing stuff, but I had never seen anything remotely looking like incitement to violence or any kind of hate speech or anything like that. It was basically like Rush Limbaugh type stuff. I mean, it was Dan Bongino, it was people like that. That these are not extreme right-wingers. These are conservatives, but they love this country. They promote peace. They're not about hate and violence, even though the left tries to claim that they are. And so the fact that Parlor was able to be so easily shut down is the reason why I was intrigued with the concept of ParlorNet.app. So on ParlorNet.app, like I said, it's distributed. So everybody's computer that is on the service essentially acts as a node in this larger distributed network. And so, like I said, there's no centralized server, so there's no way for a centralized company like Amazon to just shut you down. Now, they also don't have an app, so Google and Apple can't shut you down. But what it does mean is you can't really use it on your phone, so it's not as advantageous like that. And admittedly, there's a lot of problems with it. Partly, it's because it's blockchain, it's a lot slower when you try to make a post. Now, the problem that I've been seeing on it, like I said, I got on right after Tim Pool mentioned it, so there was a huge influx of people who were basically Tim Pool watchers, and people who watch Tim Pool tend to be moderates who feel like they don't have a home, but they kind of they kind of voted for Trump because they felt like, well, the Democrats are just, that's not crazy. They're just completely off their rocker. And the Republicans, they're detestable, but they're at least not horrible, And so that's kind of the flavor of people who watch Tim Pool's show. And so, most of the posts that I was seeing on Pocketnet, were reasonable and they sounded great. Well, then I started noticing a lot of neo-Nazi posts, and there seems to be more and more of that. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Why on earth are there these neo-Nazi posts? I even tried blocking the neo-Nazis from my feed, and yet they would still show up in the feed. And the thing that was really interesting to me is, so I believe in free speech, so I'm not offended to see somebody speaking their opinion. But most of these posts by these neo-Nazis were so outrageously over the top, neo-Nazi. Like, they weren't even trying to hide it or anything. It was like they were trying to overtly say it. And there's almost this part of me that feels like, because it's a completely unfiltered social media, I get the feeling like these people who are doing this, either A, they truly believe it and they finally have found a place that is safe for them to post, which, okay, yeah, that's fine. I don't want to see your post because your neo-Nazi posts are completely stupid, asinine, false, and a waste of my time, frankly. The second option I was thinking is, well, what if these are interlopers? What if these are actually, what if these are actually like anti-fascists who are purposefully pretending to be neo-Nazis on the platform to try to get it shut down? This has actually been a tactic employed on other social media networks in order to get it shut down. My understanding is 4chan was one that happened. And I've never even been on 4chan, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if there are actually armies of people using social media to try to paste, to basically destroy these smaller companies that are trying to start up by filling the pages with a bunch of hateful and horrible content. So, that's another possibility. The third possibility that came to my mind was, I almost kind of wonder, with as corrupt as the FBI and CIA are, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually agents trying to provoke people so that they can catch them some neo-Nazis and get them to commit conspiracy to commit acts of domestic terrorism. And I can't figure out why on earth does that make sense. okay, I can understand if you're just monitoring a service. If it's a public service, it's out in the open. So, obviously, there's, if anybody can use it, anybody can see it. So, if the CIA or the FBI want to, watch it, whatever, they can do it. So, why on earth would you want to try to ensnare or entrap somebody? But yet, the FBI does this frequently. They frequently entrap people. They'll actually, like the assassination attempt on Governor Whitmer in Michigan. That turned out, from the stories I read, that turned out to be an FBI entrapment scheme where they actually FBI agents actually pretended to be white supremacist nationalists, and they actually provoked some of these idiots who were going along with these posts, these useful idiots, to go and actively try to engage in this activity. And as a result, they of course arrested them. But you can't help but wonder, would those useful idiots, these white supremacists, would they have actually done anything had the FBI not engaged in this entrapment scheme? I mean, it does seem really odd, right? If that entrapment scheme hadn't happened, there's a really good possibility that they would have never been, provoked or prodded or even had the idea. They could have just been talking smack, as a lot of these white supremacists, these neo-Nazis do. Man, they are so vile, like, in the things they say, especially about Jews. And it's just like, oh gosh, you guys are idiots. You're really idiots. And it's one of the reasons why I can understand why they're taking off a lot of these social media sites. I don't think as much that they're dangerous, because I think 99.99% of the public pretty much sees neo-Nazis and white supremacists as idiot evil doers, okay? And I say idiot with the biggest I, idiot. Like really big idiot. Because to actually believe some of the crap that these guys post is just asinine. It's asinine. I mean, you take, for example, this idea that, okay, one of the posts that I saw that was incredibly stupid was the idea that Jews and the American government paid for and planned the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. Oh my goodness. That's freaking stupid. So, first, let's clear this up. At the time of the Bolshevik Revolution, it was Woodrow effing Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was a white supremacist. He was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. He believed in white supremacy. He believed that the Jews were evil. So why on earth would the U.S. government, under a anti-Semite, white supremacist, white nationalist president, fund the Bolsheviks in Russia? Especially since the Bolsheviks in Russia are communists, not Nazis. And Nazis hadn't even been invented yet. So just saying that right there is stupidity. So anyways, my whole point with this is it's easy to understand how social media will, want to get rid of these people off their platform, because honestly, it does create a much less pleasant experience. I have not been enjoying my time on Pocketnet App because I see all these posts and I'm just like, this is such a freaking waste of my time. I do not want to see these idiots and their moronic ideas, because it is just enraging me for something that's completely stupid. And so that's something where I can totally understand censorship on these private platforms for that reason. But at the same time, it's like, is it right? Is it a good thing to be doing? No, I don't think it's a good thing to be doing, to be censoring people. So, but what's the solution? How do you deal with these obviously bad actors that you don't want on your platform while still maintaining freedom of speech? I'd love to hear your comments. Please send me some comments on it. I don't know how you solve the problem, because you either have free speech and we have to listen to people that we really don't like hearing from, or we have censorship, but where do we draw the line? And who's in charge of the censorship? Who decides what's appropriate speech and what's not? My libertarian leaning tends to make me feel like, no, we need to have absolute freedom of speech on political ideas, as much as possible, so long as there's no incitement to violence or hate speech. Now, I would argue that a lot of what these white supremacists are saying is definitely hate speech, especially against Jews. I find it absolutely vile, the things that they say, because it's not right. Regardless of your opinion on Judaism or Jewish people in general, they're human beings. They're our brothers and sisters. We're all brothers and sisters in this large human family. So the fact that there are people hating on our brothers and sisters is a problem. We all need to love one another. So, yeah, definitely. Post in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on, is there a solution? Is there a way to figure out how to balance the needs of freedom of speech while also not forcing people to listen to a bunch of inane, stupid, horrible commentary by people that you don't really want to hear from, not because you don't want them to have freedom of speech, but because you also have the freedom of spending your time the way you want to. So you shouldn't have to listen to somebody speaking stuff that you already are 100% convinced that it's just evil. I mean, am I wrong? Am I right? Like I said, post in the comments. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm the Colorblind Architect. Peace out.